Okay, so that can kind of transition us to what it was kind of like for me transitioning to teaching out of state. And so that's something that is kind of a bummer about being a teacher is every state has different requirements, and every state you need to meet certain criteria. And that's something that you definitely need to take into consideration when you are applying for schools and whenever you're at that point in your life. But I can talk you through how mine kind of worked for a little bit. So my first like big piece of advice of this is even if you don't want to move out of state or you really want to, or you're kind of thinking about it, the one big thing I would say is that you truly are a new teacher wherever you go. Even if you think that it's not going to be as new teacher like if you get hired in the district you student taught at, or if you stay in the same state, or if you move states, like no matter where you go, you are a brand new teacher and you have so much to learn. And I feel like that was something that I was actually told by a Hope grad that was a grade above me, and she was like, you're going to be new wherever you go. Like, she student taught in the same district and then got hired, and she still felt like brand new. So I think that's one thing that if you are considering doing that and potentially thinking like, oh, like I don't know if I want to do that, like a new state could be kind of scary, like you will not know what you're doing kind of wherever you go. So if you want to move out of the state, go ahead and do it, because it's going to be a learning curve no matter where you are. So that's kind of my take on that. But so for my licensure process, and I'm not sure like what age levels everyone is here. Oh, someone is in the chat. Oh, that's Susan. Sorry, yikes, I just got distracted there. So I'm not sure like what the age levels of students are here, but if you're getting close, if you're student teaching or you're thinking about student teaching, the licensing process is really talked through to you when you are student teaching. So I student taught one semester. So in my spring semester is when you really start working on all of that. And so in Michigan, you have to take your teaching certification test, and then you can apply to get your license. And at this time, I was a little bit unsure of if I was going to move to Colorado or not. And I just didn't really know. So I did contact my director of student teaching, and we talked about it, and she kind of gave me the process to go through that. And she said to get my Michigan teaching license, go to the Colorado's Department of Education website and upload it, and it'll transfer right over. And then unfortunately, it didn't quite happen the way that we would have wanted it to. So I actually was just given a 1-year teaching license from the state of Colorado, and they said I needed to take the Praxis, which is their teaching certification test. So obviously that was a little bit of a bump in the road, and that's kind of why I put in here one of my big recommendations would be for you to contact that state's Department of Education before you do anything really, just because yes, like Hope faculty is really great and you should definitely ask and rely on them, but the change in Colorado was made like while I was going through the process. So Hope faculty was unaware of like this new change that was being made. And so that's where like it gets a little gray. But just like, I don't know if you guys know this, but every single state has a Department of Education website. So you can literally just Google like Michigan Department of Education or Colorado Department of Education, and all the information you'll need is there. And I would just recommend, like, even if you're considering like saying like, oh, I might want to move to California, or I might want to move to Wisconsin or wherever you want to go, I would just honestly just email whoever they say to email on the bottom, and they are really quick and they get back to you really quick. And you can just be like, hey, I'm doing my teacher preparation in Michigan, but I want to move to Colorado. Like, what am I going to need to do? And they will be able to like talk you through step by step. And I would definitely recommend doing that rather than like just simply relying on Hope faculty, just because things change all the time. There could be like a new rule or something. And just to kind of save people from what me and a bunch of my friends that moved out here just kind of had to go through. So I would definitely recommend contacting your state of education. And also, the other thing I'd recommend is asking your school about new educator requirements. So my district is a really big district. So rural public is really huge. And I am currently, as a first year teacher, I'm taking a lot of courses that will transfer me to my professional license after my first year of teaching. And not a lot of districts do that. So I have a lot of friends who are first year teachers in Michigan right now, and they aren't doing like any of this new educator things at all, but I'm doing quite a lot of it. But honestly, I've really enjoyed it because I've gotten to meet a bunch of first year teachers in the district. So people that aren't in my school, like I get to meet all of those girls / boys, most of the girls, but I do get to meet a lot of those people. And I'm like learning a lot. I get to take a lot of classes, and I'll be like bumped up to that professional license right away versus my friends in Michigan. They are going to have to like slowly take classes. And then after like 5 years or something, they're going to have to apply for their professional license. So that's just something that I didn't even realize was a thing. Like I had no idea that I was going to have to like upgrade my license or anything like that. So obviously this is kind of like farther along, like when you're applying for jobs or when you're looking at districts, but I would definitely recommend one, contacting your new state's Department of Education. If you're staying in Michigan, hope faculty will be able to do that for you super easily. But if you're even considering moving out, I would definitely contact them. And then I would also ask about new educator requirements, because that's something I didn't realize that was something I needed to do at all. But I'm learning a lot from it, and I really love doing it right now. So I'll have my professional license after 1 year, which will be super nice. So I'll just like pause just in case anyone has questions or anything, just to work on my wait time a little bit. But okay, yes, Susan, sorry, I saw you.
No, I just wanted to say you have a great audience, Sarah. So many
Oh, good.
students that are out there. I'm looking at the whole list, and I just thank you for everything you're sharing right now, and I'll be quiet.
Okay, yeah, no, you're good. Okay, perfect. So again, like the number one thing I would say is like if you have a desire to move out of state like I did, just do it and go for it, and like you'll make it work. And it was really worthwhile for me. I was talking to Susan and Jane, and I'm going to be staying at my same school next year, and it's going really great. And again, like you're new wherever you go. So that's just kind of my push for folks who want to maybe get out of Michigan for a little bit. Okay. So this next one is the video of my classroom. And so obviously I'm a first grade teacher, and I did take this video in the middle of my day. So my kids were at special when I took this video. So it's a little like, it looks like what a room looks like when kids are in it, which is how you want to see it anyway. So I will just share this video, and it'll just like kind of walk you through my room and all the little things that I have in there and kind of my purpose for having things. And then I'll just chat about it a little bit more after, hoping that you guys can hear the sound. So here we go.
I don't think we can hear it, Sarah.
Okay, hold
Maybe
on.
if you turn it up on like the bottom of your screen, would that work?
Yeah, let's try that. Sorry, this is gonna. Okay. Yes or no?
No. But do you see
Okay.
like right next to the play button right there?
Oh yeah, oh got it.
Try that.
Yeah, we'll try this.
But my students have been practicing speech reading, so this was an opportunity for them to see if they could read your letter.
Could you hear that, Jane, or no?
I still couldn't.
Okay, that's totally fine. Okay, I'll just talk through while the video is playing. You think that'll work?
Yeah, real life teaching adaptability.
Yes. Okay, here we go. You don't have to listen to me anyway. This is a little introduction. So I'm just saying that my kids are in special, so the room is a little crazy. So right here is our Raptor voice levels. So it's really nice that we have like a school-wide voice levels, which is really nice. So like level 0 is no sounds. Level 1 is like a whisper. And it's really nice to have like school-wide expectations. So we have that posted. That's where my kids have hall passes. This is how they show me that they're here today. And I talked about this hot lunch sign. It broke and I don't know where it went. So I really quickly made like a new one that it looks a little ratchet, but. And then my school is only 2 years old. So we're like a pretty brand new school. So we don't have like lockers outside of our classroom. We have little cubbies and little hooks. So that's where all my kids hold their things. There's my like little happy birthday wall. Here's just, I use all of these cubbies, these extra cubbies for storage. That's where kids hold their things. More storage. I'm attached to my teaching partner, so her room's right there, which is really nice. Yeah, I'm talking about that. And then we have a little take a break corner. So I had to teach my kids that. And then I have 2 spaces over here, which are kind of for like small group partner work spaces. I have our little writing checklist that we work through every day. And then I'm utilizing a sound wall, which I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about that. Like a sound wall versus a word wall in grades K through 3. This was a place where I realized I needed to store more things. So those are like my book boxes for my different reading groups and just places for them to turn things in and extra computers and stuff like that. And then those are little chairs I got from Donors Choose, which I will also mention later. There's where our class jobs are. Honestly, I'm really terrible at remembering to change those. This is our social contract and then our library. And then this is just kind of what the front of my room looks like. iReady stuff, you don't really need to know about that. That's where our big books are for our reading curriculum. I have hand signals for my students, so those are visually out there for my students to remember. We started Black History Month, so I have some books up for that every day. Oh, and this is where I'm posting my learning objective. So, and I'll talk about this more a little bit, but obviously in first grade, you learn a lot of sounds and a lot of like phonics skills. So I post like the phonics skill we're going to be working on each week there, and they love it. They love seeing it. And then if they find it somewhere else in the room, they're like, Miss Dubbert, like, look, it's right there and it's in the room too. Like, it's super cute to have posted. And in my school, we do not have like the pull down screen. That's what I just said. We don't have the pull down screen. We just have these big TVs. So we just finished stations. So that was what my stations kind of look like for the day. And then that's my book hospital. So that's where my kids put books if they're broken or they need to be fixed. And then there's my little corner, which it's organized chaos. My desk, my calendar, just where I store some things. And then you can see that that's my small group table. So I just finished reading some decodable readers with a small group. That's where they join me. And then this is just more cabinets, storage area, as you can tell, just all the things that I need. So up here we have my oral vocabulary words that we're working on and our high frequency words. So I post those new ones every week. And then I'm showing you like what my classroom looks like. So I have 4 groups and I organized them by the chair colors that I had. So we have like the orange group, the blue group, the green group, and then my orange and blue group. And those groups line up with things that are in their cubbies. And you can see kind of right here on the back of this chair, I have a star on one chair on each table, and that's my team leader for that table group. So their job is to like get all the supplies that our students need for the day. And if I need something for them, that's their job. That's their cubbies with their supplies. And that's it. So that's what my room looks like in first grade. And one thing you might have noticed also is that I don't have a carpet. I have like little dots on the ground instead. And I honestly really like that more than a carpet. I like the cleaner look, and I feel like it's a lot easier for my kids to be able to just sit on that one dot versus a carpet is such a bigger space for them to sit. And my kids really liked having that one little dot that their bottom goes on. So that's another thing. So just some quick things I wanted to chat about with the tour. So one thing that is really starting to take over like elementary right now is having a sound wall instead of a word wall. So basically that means that my kiddos, instead of having words that we learned up on this word wall, we have a sound wall with all the sounds we learned. So you kind of saw that it was pretty bare right now because we're really working on like all the letter sounds, and then we worked on blending, and we just are finishing up digraphs. So like SH makes the sh sound. And so each letter sound has a keyword card or keyword picture that goes with it. So, and those are things we learn in our phonics program. So they know if they're working on like reading or writing and they see the SH sound and they're not quite sure what it is, or if they're writing and they're not quite sure how to make the sh sound, I've taught them to look up at the sound wall and then they find the picture that corresponds with it. So they know to look for the shoe for the SH sound, and then they can go look and see, oh, shoe, my sound is made with SH. So they know to either write SH or to make that sound. And that's something that is really blowing up in the world of elementary right now. And that's something I would really recommend. So it's more recognizing and teaching like those decoding skills and that ability to decode and encode, and less just teaching like the automaticity and like memorization of sounds. And that goes into all of like the science of reading and all of those like best practices. So I would definitely recommend a sound wall, and that'll be filled up by the end of the year. We'll be adding like long vowel sounds and vowel teams and all that stuff. So those will all be added by the end of the year. So it'll be full. A couple other things I wanted to point out, tidy tubs, I would definitely recommend doing those. I actually learned that from a teacher I follow on Instagram. It's if you're having kids like cut or like, yeah, cut things out, every like scrap paper goes in the tidy tub. And I'm telling you, I didn't do it like my first couple of months, but I'm doing it now, and it is literally a game changer for my floor. So I would definitely recommend tidy tubs. And then those hand signals that I kind of pointed out, that is also a lifesaver. So my kids, we like taught the hand signals, and they know, like, I know if they raise their hand and put up a 1, I know like they want to go get a drink of water. And so they're not constantly interrupting me when I'm teaching. Like they'll just put their hand up and I'll nod to them if they're able to go, which is really nice. Or for bathroom, they put up 3 and they shake it. So all these little hand signals that stop, they don't interrupt me from teaching, but they're able to go do their jobs and do the things that they need to do. So I'd also really recommend that. And I bought my classroom like decorations off of Teachers Pay Teachers. It was like $30 or something, but honestly, I would recommend it. I know teachers are like broke, but it was like the best decision I ever made. So there's like classroom bundles that you can buy, and that's where I got all those. So the other thing is, almost every single principal is going to require you to have some sort of objectives posted in your room. And I used to have my objectives posted on basically like a fourth of my whiteboard. So I would write them up every single day on my whiteboard. And I just realized that took up way too much of my like precious whiteboard / wall space. So I post my objectives every single day in my like PowerPoints that I do with my kiddos. So that's how I do that. But also phonics objective is the one thing I put up every single day, because it just is really fun for them to like look around the room, or if we're watching a video and they see the word, or if they're reading a book and they see that sound, it's fun for them to like visually see the sounds we're working on for them to point out. And then I also talked about this, how I matched my cubbies with my tables and the gold star for the team leader. Okay, and I'll pause for questions again. And one thing I will say also is, you're going to want to walk into your classroom like a month before you start teaching, and you're going to want to fill up every single wall, and you're going to want to make it look super pretty. But that's honestly like the worst way to go about it, because you need space to fill up as you go. So I felt like my room was really bare when I was first starting to teach. And I was like, oh, this isn't that cute. But my teaching partner was like, well, think about it, like your classroom contract's going to need to go somewhere. And like students' work is going to need to go somewhere. And like how you talk about being good listeners is going to have to go somewhere. So all those things will take up space at some point. So as a first year teacher, you might feel like you need to fill up every single bulletin board and every single wall, but that truly does come as the year goes on. And that's honestly best practice anyway, because you want your kids to feel like it's their room too. And you want them to feel like they have some control or some purpose in decorating the room as well. So kind of little tip there.
Okay, can I throw in a question, Sarah?
Mhm.
You talked about phonics, you're teaching phonics. Did you learn phonics at Hope, or is that something we should concentrate on more? I know there's a big debate about that.
Yeah, so honestly, I would say that I have learned so much about phonics, teaching phonics as a first grade teacher. Like I learned something new about words every single day. That is something that I do feel like Hope needs to do a better job of. I definitely felt like I had a very baseline of it. And I do feel like I'm learning more and more phonics every single day, especially if you're early childhood. That is the most important thing you're teaching your kids, are hearing those sounds and being able to then like put those sounds onto paper and onto letters. So yes, I would say that phonics is definitely something that Hope needs to focus more on. And in Colorado, I'm required to take this thing called the READ Act. So Colorado is realizing that teachers don't have the phonics / like reading skills needed to teach kids. So I'm taking a course for that right now. And I'm learning a ton from that. So it's called the READ Act. Susan, I don't know if you want to like pose that to the education department or anything, but it's really great. And I'm learning a lot.
The READ, what was the second word?
Act.
Oh, ACT. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
READ Act. Yeah.
Well, special ed majors have gotten phonics. We have a lot of special ed majors on this call. I'm not sure if that's continued, but in the past we have emphasized that. I'll get the word out. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll go ahead and keep cruising. So this will be kind of the fun part where I'll get to show you guys all the tech I'm using in my classroom. And this is technology, honestly, that you could probably use like any grade level. Obviously, I'm a first grade teacher and that's all I know. So this is the tech I use in a first grade classroom, but I know a lot of other teachers in our district use, and in my school, use a lot of this technology as well. So here's just kind of like an overall list of the main things I use, and I'll go through and I'll show you guys all of these different things. So the first on the list is Epic, and I don't want to move this. Okay, so Epic is basically an online library for students. And so as classroom teacher, and this is given to me through my district. So almost every district I feel like will give this to their teachers. So it has like a bunch of books, which I truly, truly love. And this is one of my kids' favorite stations to do during literacy stations. So I'll just kind of show you what this kind of looks like. So this is what my students see is I assign books for them to read. So right now, obviously with Black History Month starting up, we have read some books about like Abraham Lincoln. We talked about him, and that's just like another way for them to get more information and get another type of learning about these things. And then we also talked about Rosa Parks, so they got to read some books about that. And then this is still from last week. So every week in First Grade in Wonders, there's like a guiding question or a question of the week. And last week our question was like how animals grow, or how something about animals. And so I put a couple books on here and their stations to listen to with that. But I wanted to show you all the books. They have so many books here. They have, what we use all the time are the Read to Me books. So this is my way of giving kiddos like trickier texts or more complex text, and the book will read it to them. So for my kiddos who aren't at that reading level, they're still getting this high content and this high level knowledge, even though they can't read the words themselves. So there's read to me books, and that's what I use the most. But there's also like leveled books. So if you want to assign like specific books to specific kids, so if you have some readers who are reading a level F, you can assign level F books to them, or level Gs, which is really great. So normally like this is literally what I do. It's super quick. Every morning I'm looking and I'm like, oh, okay, Epic is our station today. Like I need to put books on Epics. Let's say like the topic last week was about, like a couple weeks ago, was about plants. So I would literally just look up plants and I would press read to me. And then it gives me like all the read to me options about plants. And all I would have to do is press assign. And I just assign to my class. And then it pops up for them. And so I've taught them obviously how to get to Epic and all that stuff, but this is by far one of their favorite stations. And again, through the Read Act, I'm learning about how important like complex texts are for students and for them to learn that vocabulary. And this is a really easy way to do that with, especially for your students who aren't reading at those levels. I'll pause for Epic questions. Okay, cool. And then my next one is Go Guardian, and Go Guardian, I actually can't show you guys because none of my students are like on their computers right now, but man, this saved my life. I had to teach online for a week. There's kind of an outbreak of COVID in first grade back in November. So I had to teach online for a week. And Go Guardian's amazing. You can watch exactly what they're doing on their screens. You can like pull up tabs for them. You can like push buttons for them. You can tell them what to do. You can close tabs for them. So if they're on something they're not supposed to, you can like exit them out of it. And that's definitely something that if you are ever concerned about going online, that is such a great tool. And then iReady is specific to Aurora Public Schools, but I wanted to show you guys this because I feel like a lot of districts have something similar. I'm gonna log on here. So iReady is what we use for testing, and we use for lessons and stations. So if I go to iReady here, and I go to instruction, this will first off show me how my kiddos are doing on their lessons. So every 3 days a week for about 20 minutes, my kiddos are supposed to be on iReady. And iReady is really great because it has like lessons specifically for what that student is working on. So like one student might be working on like letter names and sounds, and one student might be working on comprehension, or one might be working on vocabulary. This is really great because it goes through and it shows me exactly how much time they spent on it and how many lessons they've passed and how many lessons they've done and their passing percentage. And so iReady is really important in my district. And so we have reward systems by the end of the week. So my kids are required to get 3 lessons passed each week by Friday. And if they get it by Friday, then they get like special rewards. So it's really great. So you can come in and like, I can easily see like how much time my students are spending on it. But then also it shows me this little, I don't even know what symbol you would call that. But it says, this means that my student didn't pass multiple lessons in one domain in a row. And so if I press on that student, it'll show me what domain he's working on. So he's working on comprehension, and that just shows me that he is not getting these comprehension lessons. So at least once a week, I will pull groups based on their iReady groupings. So like he needs to be working on comprehension. So I'll pull him for probably like 5 minutes to work on some comprehension skills based on where he's at in iReady. This friend is still working on like hearing sounds, and she's obviously having some difficulties with that. So I'll pull her and I'll work on those specific skills. So that's really nice for me to be able to see. One, I can keep my kiddos accountable by making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing during our small groups. And also it's more information for me to be able to see how well my kiddos are doing and what they need extra work on. Like every single day, it's a really nice little quick assessment. And this is definitely like really specific to my district, but I know a lot of districts are starting to use it. It's a pretty new system and it's really getting out there a lot. And this is also how we screen our kiddos every quarter. So this is also what we use for like report cards, and this is what we use to group students and all that stuff. So it's super great. I could be on that for forever, but that's another quick one that I use. Noodle, I'm sure you guys have all heard about that. I use that every single day. It's just a really great platform for kiddos to get their bodies up and moving, and they can like earn like upgrades of people and all that great stuff, and they love that. And then honestly, YouTube, like don't hate on YouTube. It honestly is really great. So I use phonics videos every day, and so I'll just like quickly show you. Oh, you're not going to be able to hear it. Okay, you're not gonna be able to hear it anyway. So like the new phonics skill we're learning. So right now we're learning digraphs. So I'll have like a digraph video up on the screen as they're like getting ready for us to learn phonics, as they're getting their materials and stuff. And then I literally just look up like relaxing music to study to. And oh my goodness, the difference between my kids when we're independent writing, when I have that music on versus when I don't, is like night and day. So I put like writing, like soft jam music on every time. It's usually like Wednesdays and Thursdays where we do like 20 minutes of independent writing. And so I'll put it on during that. And then also draw me's. This is a thing that's like amazing that I wanted to show people. So it's basically this man, and he's like with a child, and he like walks through how to draw things. So right now, like they're drawing a minion, and he literally goes step by step, and my kids love this. So we use this as like a reward every couple of weeks if they like get their stars. This will be a reward for them, and they love doing it. It talks them through like step by step exactly how to do it. There's like tons of them, like you can see on the sides, like how to draw Mario, how to draw Minecraft skeleton, how to draw funny popcorn. And during like Christmas, I had them do like how to draw a snow globe or how to draw a snowman. And they just love doing this. And that's like a great way to do some art integration as well into your classroom. So that's something that I just learned about a couple months ago, and I thought people should know. So that's pretty great. And then we also use Google Classroom. We do not use it to turn assignments in. I use it to house like links and things for my students. So to get onto Epic, they go onto Google Classroom and press the link, or to get onto ABC, they go to Google Classroom and press on the link. We used Google Classroom a lot while we were remote teaching for that week, but other than that, it's just kind of another place for me to house things for my students. And then this is something that I presented on when I was like a sophomore on the tech team, so lots of like years ago, but now I'm using it and it is incredible. And it is called Seesaw, and it is the best thing ever. This also has to be bought by your district. So this is something that like, unless you plan on spending $50 a month, this is like a district thing, but almost every single person I've talked to has Seesaw in their district, especially for K-3. So that's kind of what it's most utilized for. So this is what my Seesaw looks like. It's truly incredible. Sorry, I'll wait for it to load on your guys' screen. So, okay, you can see one of my friends here decided not to really try on his spelling test, but he's a special circumstance. So anyway, so basically, and I got permission from a parent to show students Seesaw. So what I do is I have a bunch of activities that happen every single week for my students. So when we first start a new unit or a new like phonics skill for the week, they go through and they do the spelling list. So they'll click on here. And if they click on this button in the corner, they'll be able to hear me. So I like teach them and I give them some instructions. And so it's kind of like a little mini lesson. So I'll say like, it quit, and then I'll like talk through like that skill we're learning, and then their job, and you can see here, is to record themselves reading it and spelling it, and then they have to write it. So you can see like this means that he recorded himself reading it and saying it, and then he wrote it for me, and they have to do that for like all 10 of the words in our spelling list. And then on the last day of that lesson, they take a spelling test. And it's really, really nice because this is something where I don't have to take 15 minutes out of my day to do a whole group spelling test. It's just like quickly put into their stations, and my kids can do it in like 5 minutes now. And it's really nice that we're able to still work on these skills and work on these spelling patterns. But one, I don't have to take whole group time, and two, my kiddos can do it at their own pace. So again, here, they will just press on the play button in the corner, and they'll listen to me say the word in a sentence, and then say the word again, and then they know to write that specific word. And it's really nice because they turn it into me, and I can just quickly go through and see how they're doing. So right here, we're working on the floss rule, which is like having two letters at the end of a word. So I can really quickly check, and I have like a little system I use, and I say, okay, he might need help with floss rules, but he looks like he's got our QU rule down and he's got our X rule down. So I can really quickly go through that. They like to change it to rainbow sometimes. And there's other things that they do. So this is what my teaching partner does with math. She does like a bunch of different things with math. So Seesaw is almost always a station for our kiddos. This was just like a fun scavenger hunt thing they did. And this is something that I wish you guys could hear, but you can't. That's okay. I'll talk you through it. So for writing, especially in first grade, it's in kindergarten, it's really important for students to be able to orally say orally say it before they write it. And so that's kind of the process that we use in first grade. So we'll read a book and we'll talk about it. And then we'll work on that same like writing prompt for 2 days. So this is day one. Day one is they have the writing prompt at the top. They can listen to me say it, and then they record themselves orally responding to this writing prompt. And then, so they're practicing that oral process. And then the next day, so let's say this is on Monday, and then the next day on Tuesday, they go back in, they listen to what they said, and then they write about it. So it's working on like that. We say what we hear, we write what we say, like that whole process of being able to do that. So, and it's also really fun to see their faces and things like that. So that's how I use Seesaw. It's really great. And also, if we go over here, what's also really great about it is there's like a whole community of seesaws. So let's just say like I don't feel like making my own seesaw for the day, because that just happens. Like you don't want to do everything yourself. I can just look up and I can say, okay, if my kids are working on like blends, I just Google blends, and all of these seesaws that teachers have made and have made public like pop up. And so I can say like, oh, this one looks good. And I can assign what this teacher made to my students, and that's something that they do for the day. So this is also really nice of like, don't create everything yourself, like use resources that are already out there. And that's something that I have decided to live by as a first year teacher. So there's like a community library where you can find all of those things. And then this is also my library. So this will show me the things that I've created. And like these two things right here, like I stole from people. I found like this President's Day read aloud. I stole that from someone and my kids loved that. And this is also how I am giving work for my students who are remote. So right now we normally have about like 2 kiddos out with COVID around like every week. And so I record myself teaching and I put it in on Seesaw, and I give them a copy of like the worksheet that they do after, and they could just do it all on Seesaw. They come on Seesaw, they press on here to listen to me teach, and then they do their job. This is great. So anyway, huge fan of Seesaw. I think that's a great tool. And the last thing I kind of wanted to mention is that I do not teach my kids how to play games. And I think that's something that a kindergarten teacher right now in my school is really, really having a hard time with, is she taught her kids games as like rewards. But I don't teach my kids any games at all. And so I don't even have to worry about them like going on to games when they're not supposed to, or like not when they're supposed to be doing their job in stations. Obviously, I can't watch every single person's computer screen when I'm teaching a small group. And so I don't have to worry about my kids like not going on to games. So that's just something like I personally don't do. You can do what works best for you, but I found it to be useful in my room. Okay, I'll pause.
How much is Epic, or is that free?
It's free for me, for like my district purchased it. I'm not sure
Okay,
how much that would be if you had to buy it yourself. I know you can buy it yourself.
okay, okay.
Okay, cool. We can keep cruising. All right. So I just kind of want to talk about what student teaching is like versus first year teaching. And again, I'm not sure if there are people here that are student teaching right now or who are getting close to it, or if there's a bunch of freshmen, but here we go. So the first thing I do want to say is like, we as Hope grads are way more prepared than we even realize. Like, and people have told me that in the past, and you're going to hear that and you're going to be like, I don't even know what she's talking about. Like, I'm going to have no idea what I'm doing. But like, this isn't like me giving props to myself. This is me giving props to like Hope College and all the experiences we got. But I constantly have people coming into my room and saying like, you do not seem like a first year teacher. Like, your classroom management strategies are really great. Like, you do not look like a first year teacher. And like, that's not because of me. Like, that's because of Hope and like the countless experiences they give us. And so that's just one thing I do want to say is whenever you do get your own classroom, like, be confident, because odds are like you have so much more experience than the first year teacher who's also in your building. And so just like own it and know that like you've worked your butt off and you've had so many experiences, and just like go out and do it. So that's the first thing is I just want to say is Hope really does do a good job of preparing us when it comes to that experience and like just having like models and mentor teachers. And then something I did want to kind of talk to, just in case there are people student teaching right now. If you're going to take notes at all, these are the things that I would recommend asking your cooperating teacher about. And these are things that I wish like I learned about while I was student teaching, or things that I wish I was taught during student teaching that I feel like I'm just trying to figure out by myself. So the first one is report cards. And I know my cooperating teacher did have to do report cards when I was student teaching, but I never asked about it. She never really offered to talk to me about it. She never showed me the platform, anything. And then my first quarter came up and I had no idea what to do with report cards. And so that would just be something I would just like casually mention to your mentor teacher, cooperating teacher, and say, hey, like, whenever you're doing report cards, like, can I just like sit behind you for like 2 kiddos and just see the process you're going through? Or can you just walk me through what this looks like? Or like, what's your grading system versus the way like other districts grade? And that's something that I wish I just had a little bit more information on when I became a first year teacher. The second one is parent communication. And this is something that I feel like I quickly had to learn as a first year teacher. And the only way I really did parent communication when I student taught was with like newsletters. But I realized like I never listened or sat in on like a parent phone call. I never emailed parents directly about behaviors. I never really did anything like that. I just kind of let my cooperating teacher handle that. So even if you're not doing any of the work, even if you're just sitting there and listening to a phone conversation and the parent doesn't even know you're listening, or if you just read through an email like your mentor teacher sent to a parent because of behavior, that will give you like so many more tools already in your toolbox to be able to do that naturally by yourself. And especially calling home with something that I was terrified of doing, and like reaching out to parents about specific behaviors. I was terrified. I was like, I wanted to be like, I truly love your child, but they did this, but like, they're still really great. But like parents need to know like what's happening, and they want to know what's happening. And like, that's a skill that you'll obviously learn as the years go on, but having a little bit of more insight or more experience with it right away would be really beneficial. I feel like for me as a first year teacher, I wish I would have gotten some more information on that. This one was tricky. So my station. So I student taught in like the peak of COVID and I was in a school where students were not allowed to get up out of their seats. We weren't allowed to sit on the carpet. We weren't allowed to move around the room. And so our stations were not really stations. And even if you are in a district right now where you're allowed to do stations and students are allowed to be moving around and you feel like you have a good idea of it, I would still really recommend asking your parent, like your mentor teacher, and say like, how did you create these stations? Like, how did you create these groupings? Like what's important to you about these stations? How did you teach them these independent work? Because when you think about it, it's tough. I have changed my literacy stations probably like 6 times this school year, because I feel like I'm just learning new things as I go. But you have to consider like, oh, I want to see these kids 3 days a week, and I only want to see this kid 1 day a week, but these kids need this skill, and these kids get pulled by our reading interventionist at this time, and they need something to do independent, and this needs to be a higher level than this. So it's a lot of things that you need to think about. And so even if you are doing stations right now, I would definitely like suggest sitting down with your mentor teacher and saying, how did you plan this? Like what data do you use to plan your groups? What's important to you? What are you teaching them? Like just sitting down and talking through stations, because especially literacy stations with like K2 is going to be one of the most important blocks of your day. And to be able to do that really effectively and well is really important. And then the last thing is IEP meetings. So I'm sure everyone's taken Exceptional Child. Maybe if they haven't, you will soon. Hopefully with Susan. But so you get like a glimpse into the special education world, but I really didn't see much more after that. And I felt like I had a really good idea of it, and I felt like I was going to be able to do a great job. But I have sat in on about 8 MTSS meetings and 4 IEP meetings this year. And I had never been on an IEP meeting before or an MTSS meeting. So that's just something like that was brand new to me, and something that I felt like I could do decently well. But again, that's something that I wish I did with my mentor teacher, or something I wish I asked my cooperating teacher about. Like, how many meetings do you have a year? Like, do you have these meetings? What do they look like? What are you expected to do as a gen ed or sped teacher? What does that look like? So these are kind of the 4 things that I feel like are super important for everyone to get a bigger handle on, especially if you're just casually sitting there and watching them do it. Any experience is great. And I know I'm running out of time. I'm looking at my clock. Okay. Everything else will come naturally. Seriously, like Hope prepared you guys so well, or they will be preparing you, and it'll be great. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay, one thing that I'm notorious for is not setting boundaries, but I realized that I needed to set boundaries as a first-year teacher, because if I didn't, it would turn into my whole life. And I moved to a new city, and I was like, I don't want like just teaching to be my whole life. I want to enjoy my life in Colorado. I did not put my work email on my phone, and I will tell you it was the best decision I ever made in my entire life, not putting it on my phone. Because if you're I already get enough texts from coworkers after hours, which is sometimes a good thing, sometimes not. But if you're constantly getting emails from parents like late at night, like if you're like any type A like me, like you're going to want to respond right away. But setting those boundaries and saying to parents, like, I can communicate you from this time to this time, and I will do my best to respond right away, is like the best thing that I have ever done. So my friend, who is also a first-year teacher out here, she has her work email on her phone, and she is constantly getting emails all the time at like 9-10 p.m. And that's something like, at least my personality, I'm really glad I didn't do. Do not be afraid to ask questions, ask all of them. And that kind of leads into my next one of finding someone in the school that you can rely on and trust. So I got really lucky that I get along really, really well with my teaching partner, and we really vibe. But I also have reached out to other people in the school, and I have other people who I go to for other things as well. So I would definitely suggest like finding someone outside of your grade level who you can have those like tough conversations with, or you can rant with, is like also helps with your sanity. Google Keep saves my life. I took some screenshots of what mine looks like currently, and then now it's already different because it's been like 2 days since I took these. As a teacher, you have like 10,000 things going on in your brain, and this helps me stay really organized. So I'll just kind of talk through these. So I have like a to-do list. So I have like things that I need to do. This is one of my students like MTSS goals. Like this is just a reminder for me that I need to be tracking these goals every day. This is like, I was starting to think about what I needed to do for next week. So I had like a to-do list for next week, and like random ideas I have, I will like put in this Google Keep. Like chaperones for our zoo field trip in May. Like I'm putting that here. If I have kids who are really working on like B&D reversal. So all these little things that like you think about and you want to write down somewhere, but then you like lose that sheet of paper, you lose that Post-it note. I have found like Google Keep literally keeps my life like in order, and it's amazing. So that is like a built-in feature in Google. So everyone should have it. I already talked about decorating your classroom. That'll come throughout the school year. I buy a lot from Dollar Tree and the dollar section at Target. You do get reimbursed through your school. Honestly, I never like turn in receipts because I'm just like that personality and that makes me anxious. So I buy everything from the Dollar Tree or the dollar section. Literally everything's $1. Like all those book bins you need, $1. It's really great. And then my last one, Owner's Choose. So this is a website that you can go to and any teacher can do it. And you say exactly what you want for your classroom. And it could be like thousands of dollars. And you post it and you say like why you want to have it for your room. And like random people will like donate money to you. And it's really great. And that's how I got those blue reading chairs you saw. And I got like wobbles. So I did it for like flexible seating in my classroom. And I did not spend a dime on it. So I got like, it was like almost $1,000 worth of supplies for $0 on my end. And obviously like I had family members contribute to it also, but I did have some like strangers do it too. So Donors Choose is definitely a website that you can keep in your back pocket. Another friend who teaches at Zealand right now, she got her like classroom rug off of Donors Choose. So she didn't spend a dime on that either. So, okay. But anyway, okay. The thing I wanted to say, please like reach out, email me, call me, text me. Literally, I love to talk about teaching. I would love if you're thinking about moving to Denver, if you want to like check out Aurora Public Schools, there's 5 Hope grads in Aurora Public Schools right now, which is really awesome. So if you have any questions about APS or Denver Public or anything like that, thinking about moving to Colorado, have a student teaching question, anything like that, like seriously, email me, text me. I just like love this stuff. So obviously it is time. So anyway, okay, thanks everyone. If you have a question, pop it in the chat or unmute or whatever. So yeah.
I'm going to throw our sign out form in the chat so all of you can sign out that way so you get credit for coming. We also would love if you could leave something in the chat, either that you learned tonight, or if you do have a question that you wanted answered before you leave, you could leave that. But it's just super great for us to know and for Sarah to know what your biggest takeaways. So we would love that feedback if you take a second. And then thank you so much, Sarah, for coming and talking. And thank you all for coming to listen.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. I hope you guys have a great spring semester. Go Dutch. Go 269. Woo. Man, we love some words of affirmation. I really wish this could have been in person. I feel like people would like me a lot more if like you could like feel my energy not through a screen. I feel like I probably seem like a psycho through the screen. I don't know.
It was so good. It's like better over the screen. Well, not better over the screen, but like you were a good person to do virtually because it was like really easy to pay attention because your energy shines through. It was great.
Oh shoot, I forgot about talk about that. And
I totally support that, Jane. It was as if I had not 1 minute I wanted to do something else. I was just glued to this. You are so enthusiastic. You have the energy. You have the commitment and compassion. That was so obvious. And it wasn't about how awful the first year is. You gave such good recommendations to the student teachers and to future. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And I had no idea where it was going or what you're going to do. And I'm writing down in the chat, I said, because some of my 225 people are there, I wish that they could share a couple of things you talked about that were free in their mini teaching and have our class learn about that. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, I feel like I should have said like, oh man, first year teachers, like the first year of teaching is great. I didn't even say that.
Oh, you showed it.
Okay.
You really showed that. And so much is sort of, oh, the first year is so terrible and all that kind of stuff. And there was nothing in that.
Yeah, I honestly, I wish I said honestly, it's great. I wish I said that. Whoops.
No,
I don't know.
I think because not everybody's will be great. I love
yeah.
you did it. I loved it.
That's
And
true.
Natalie just wrote in about hand signals. I mean, they were just such sensible little things that they could try right now in their student teaching or in their placements.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, oh man, I kind of wish I knew like who was young or who was in student teaching right now, because I feel like that would